In a small forgotten village in Odisha, life moved slowly. The monsoon winds whispered through the paddy fields. The sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink every evening. Here, everyone knew everyone. They shared their joys and their sorrows. But in this simple village there lived a man whose heart was not so simple. His name was Ramachandra Mangaraj. He was the landlord, the zamindar. He owned much of the land, but his hunger for more was like a fire that never went out. He saw land not as a mother that feeds, but as a thing to be owned, a thing to increase his power and his wealth. His eyes, small and sharp, were always looking for a way to get more. Among the villagers were Bhagia and Saria. They were an old couple, their backs bent from years of hard work. Their faces were like maps, full of lines that told stories of struggle and love. They had very little in the world, just a small hut and a piece of land. This land was not just soil and stone to them, it was their life, it was their pride. They called it their Chamana Athaguntha, their 6 acres and 8 decimals. This land had been in their family for generations. They had grown rice on it, fed their children from it, and hoped to pass it on. It was the only thing they had that was truly theirs. Mangaraj's greedy eyes fell upon this small piece of land. To him, it was just another plot to add to his vast collection. He saw it as a missing piece in his puzzle of power. He started thinking of ways to take it. He knew Bhagia and Saria were simple people. They trusted others easily. They did not understand the clever, twisted ways of the world. Mangaraj smiled a cunning smile to himself. He knew he could use their simplicity against them. The thought of owning their precious land filled him with a dark kind of happiness. He began to spin a web, a trap made of lies and deceit. The village folk respected Mangaraj, but they also feared him. He was a powerful man with connections in the city. He could make things happen. He could also make things disappear. People whispered about his cruelty, but never too loudly. They knew he had eyes and ears everywhere. Bhagia and Saria, however, were unaware of the storm that was gathering. They continued their simple life, praying to their gods, working on their land, and finding happiness in small things. They did not know that their biggest test, their darkest time, was just around the corner, waiting for them. Ramachandra Mangaraj began his plan with a sweet tongue. He started visiting Bhagia and Saria. He would sit with them, ask about their health, and speak kind words. He told them he wanted to help them. He said their land was not giving them enough. He promised them a better life if they sold the land to him. But Bhagia and Saria loved their land too much. They politely refused every time. "This land is our mother, Mangaraj Babu," Bhagia would say. "How can we sell our mother?" Mangaraj's fake smile would hide his growing anger. He realized that sweet words were not enough to break their will. So he changed his strategy. He decided to use fear instead of kindness. He went to the corrupt village officials, the ones who were in his pocket. He paid them money and gave them false stories. He accused Bhagia of not paying his taxes, a complete lie. He created fake documents with fake signatures, showing that Bhagia owed him a lot of money. The poor old farmer was suddenly buried under a mountain of false charges. He was called to the court, a place he had never seen in his life. He did not understand the legal papers. He did not understand the language of the court. He only understood that he was in big trouble. The corrupt officials played their part perfectly. They shouted at Bhagia in the court. They threatened him with jail. They told him that the only way to save himself was to give his land to Mangaraj to clear his debt. Bhagia and Saria were terrified. They were old and alone. They had no one to fight for them. The thought of going to jail was a nightmare. They felt trapped with no way out. The world they knew, the simple world of trust and honesty, was crumbling around them. They felt helpless, like a small boat caught in a violent storm at sea. With a heavy heart and tears in their eyes, they finally gave in. Bhagia put his thumbprint on the papers that Mangaraj's lawyer pushed in front of him. He did not know what the papers said. He only knew that he was signing away his life, his history, and his future. The moment his thumb touched the ink pad, Mangaraj's face lit up with a triumphant smile. He had won. He had snatched the Chamana Athaguntha from the old couple. The land was now legally his. The web of deceit had worked. Bhagia and Saria walked away from the court, their shoulders stooped, their spirits completely broken. Losing their land was like losing a child for Bhagia and Saria. The small plot was not just a source of food, it was the center of their universe. Every morning they would wake up and look at their field. Now they saw Mangaraj's men working on it. The familiar sight was now a painful reminder of their loss. The joy drained out of their lives. Saria, who used to sing old folk songs while cooking, fell silent. Her songs were replaced by deep sighs. Bhagia, who was once a proud farmer, now just sat in a corner of his hut, staring at nothing. The sadness was a heavy blanket that covered them day and night. Their health started to fail rapidly. The shock and sorrow were too much for their old bodies to bear. Saria stopped eating. She would just lie on her mat, her eyes open, looking at the roof. She would often mumble the name of their land, Chamana Athagunta, as if calling out to a lost loved one. Within a few weeks, she passed away quietly in her sleep, her heart broken. Bhagia was left all alone. The loss of his wife, on top of the loss of his land, was a blow from which he could not recover. He felt like the last leaf on a dying tree. Bhagia's mind started to wander. He became a shadow of his former self. He would roam the village lanes, talking to himself, his clothes tattered. The villagers felt sorry for him, but they were too scared of Mangaraj to help him openly. They would give him food, secretly. Bhagia would often go and stand at the edge of his old field watching Mangaraj's men. He looked like a ghost haunting the place where his happiness was buried. He could not accept that the land was no longer his. His mind was trapped in the past, in the happy days when he was the master of his Chamana Athagunta. One day, the villagers found Bhagia lying lifeless at the edge of the field. He had gone there one last time to be close to his land, his mother. He died with his eyes fixed on the field that had been stolen from him. The story of Bhagia and Saria became a sad, whispered legend in the village. Their small hut stood empty, a monument to their tragedy. Mangaraj, however, felt no remorse. He saw their deaths as a small price for his victory. He was too busy enjoying his new property, blind to the human cost of his insatiable greed. Ramachandra Mangaraj's greed did not stop with Bhagia and Saria's land. His success made him bolder. He continued to exploit other poor villagers. He would lend them money at very high interest rates. When they couldn't pay, he would take their lands, their cattle, whatever little they had. He used the same tricks: fake documents, corrupt officials, and threats. The village was living in a state of fear. Mangaraj became more and more powerful, a king in his own cruel kingdom. He thought he was invincible. He believed that his money and power could buy him anything, even silence and submission. But truth has a way of coming out, like the sun after a long, dark night. A new, honest government officer was posted to the district. He started hearing whispers about the injustices in Mangaraj's village. He was a man of principle and decided to investigate the matter himself. He started a formal government inquiry. He came to the village and started talking to the people. At first, the villagers were scared to speak. They feared Mangaraj's revenge. But the officer assured them of protection. He told them that the law was on their side. Seeing the officer's determination, one by one, the villagers found their courage. An old woman spoke first, her voice trembling. Then a young farmer. Soon a flood of complaints poured out. They told the officer everything about the fake loans, the stolen lands, and the tragic story of Bhagia and Saria. The wall of fear that Mangaraj had built for years began to crack. The villagers, united in their suffering, finally stood up for themselves. Their collective voice was a powerful force that could no longer be ignored. They provided evidence and testified against the greedy landlord. The inquiry revealed the mountain of Mangaraj's crimes. The fake documents were exposed. The corrupt officials were identified and suspended. Ramachandra Mangaraj was arrested. The man who terrorized the village for so long was finally brought to justice. He lost all his illegally acquired land, which was returned to the rightful owners or their families. The downfall of the greedy landlord was complete. The story serves as a powerful lesson for all time. Greed ultimately leads to destruction, and no matter how long it takes, truth and justice will always win in the end. The village could finally breathe freely again.